Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach, and welcome to what will be the first of quite a few videos taking a look at my side as it travels through pre-season. I always think it's interesting to take a look at your side, that first one you pick, and then all of a sudden the one you end up with in round one. I always reckon you go, how did we end up there? How did I change all these things? And it must change a lot, and sometimes you don't even really know. So I thought it might be interesting. Obviously had the first look at SuperCoach a couple of weeks back with Langers, so I thought I had a bit of a team there, just a rough guide. So I thought it'd be interesting to just take a few videos, perhaps every week, just taking a look at how my side changes. For my own benefit, it'd be interesting, but I know people love to look at how sides are coming together and transforming over the pre-season, and any actual insight to how it's all going, not just a profile and a few views. You can actually see exactly what Shorty's doing from a week-to-week basis. So I'm back in the man cave. Hopefully the old man doesn't walk in like he did last time. I've got a sheet of paper for a few changes that was seen in that initial video as to how my side looks now, but we will give you a look as well if you didn't see the video a couple of weeks back. This was Jan 23, and if you're watching this video when it drops, it's exactly 43 days until round one, which is exciting. So I'll look to have, probably, 5 to 6 weeks, depending how regularly I can do them. Certainly 5 or 6 videos of a bit of a diaries, if you like. So that was my team. Obviously, you can see the rookies were not really into any calculation at the time. I have clearly since taken a look at those and made a few changes, but that's what it was. You can take a bit of a look in that. I must stress, as I said at the time, a fairly rough sort of a guide, but just wanted to put a few structural things in place in terms of the premiums, really. But we'll take a look at my side 2 weeks on and how it has changed. So not the quickest internet going around in the world, but we'll wear it. So here we go. Let's see if we can get this roughly working from the back line. As you can see, the rookies are the main one that jumps out. Obviously there's some actual names in there, some actual guys who clearly are more than just placeholders, and at this stage look the most likely. But the back line stayed largely the same. I'll get to that in a minute, but I want to take a look at the midfielder, and the main change for me was Scott Pendlebury, of course, not being there. Now, a couple of things for the reason doing that was I saw Pendles, a couple of articles, talk of going in the back line. Now, it's a common trend for Pendlebury to be thrown forward or his ball use off half-back to help Collingwood. It seems to happen all the time, but eventually his role in the midfield will tail off a little bit. And I must say, I enjoyed the Pendlebury option before I read that article, but any whisper that he won't be pure midfield, then I was off. So I think the fact that even just a whisper, even if it just means 20% that he's off a half-back flank, I don't want that. I want classic vintage Pendlebury, and for 586k, he had to go. And I also was searching for a way to get a bit more of a balance through my side. As you can see, if we just quickly go back and have a look, of course at the time it was a rough guide, but if you look at, I better use the mouse, not my fingers, but 3 rookies. Griffin was realistically never going to stay, but and a couple of rookies there. And no name. What I'm trying to say is a lot of my rookie guys were just 123k guys, which I know cost me a little bit last year, putting the faith into a lot of debutants and things like that, or not the cream of the crop of the previous draft. So as you can see, getting rid of Pendlebury for Davies-Uniacke was the big thing that allowed me to spend a lot of cash everywhere. Now, I did a little bit of just a write up here and a few of the ins and outs from Jan 23 to Feb 7, and you can see that the list of ins is a lot longer than the outs. Now that's clearly because I've only taken into calculations the real name players. Quite a lot of different rookies being shuffled around, but Pendlebury going down to Davies-Uniacke allowed me to do a lot of things. Firstly, it freed up 400k, and where did I spend that? Mainly getting a bit of balance. But I did like the Angus Brayshaw option, so I brought him in. Again, at this stage, he might be in my side for a week, it might be 3 weeks, he might start round one, I'm not sure, but I'll need to see a bit of JLT stuff for me to really be convinced about him, physically and where he's lining up. But it did allow me to spend 200k of the 400 that opened up, and that worked out nicely. Spent another 40 to get O'Shea. Of course, he's a bit like the ploughman of last year, just that guy who we can probably expect solid 70s to 80s and get plenty of game time. That's the reason he's gone to the Blues. And what I really like in the midfield, and something I haven't done in previous years, and I haven't broken the top 5k the last couple of seasons, so to do the same thing would be somewhat crazy. So you got to try and change your tactic a little bit. So I've looked to put in a little bit more depth and a little bit more faith in some players around the 150 to 220k mark in the midfield. Paddy Dow, a bit like O'Shea, will be getting plenty of game time in a fairly weak Carlton side, and by all reports is very much ready to go. A contested beast, one of the best inside players at the draft. I really like his prospects, at least at this stage. Davies Uniacke will be probably one of the most popular rookies of the whole season, and for good reason. A bit like Dow. I mean, North Melbourne and Carlton, you could make a good case it'd be bottom 2, certainly bottom 4. You'd have to think. Plenty of opportunity for some of the young guns. And Will Brodie I really like, at least at this point. A Gold Coast team also struggling, so looking to get some good youngsters in. Ablett's gone, a lot of their good players have gone, O'Meara and Prestia over the journey through the midfield. So a player like Brodie, who got a little bit of opportunity last year but then got injured, I think could be a good chance for him to make a midfield spot his own. Again, went up 50k and 50k respectively, or thereabouts. So, there's 340k of the 400 that Pendlebury opened up. The rucks have stayed the same quite clearly. And who we got here? Was that forward line? Was Dalhouse mainly. So Dalhouse, again, it was only an extra 10k to go up to Billings, but I think in between that there was an actual shuffle where De Goey found his way into my side. So just touching off on the Pendlebury, and of course Ryan Griffin left my side. They also helped me to go from a young gun up to Christensen, I believe. Yeah, so there's Scarlett there. I really enjoy the chance of Christensen playing some good footy. I'll do a profile on him soon, but he has really scored well, even with some injuries affecting that overall season average. I reckon we can absolutely lock a mid-80s average, providing his body can get right. But, dropping Griffin, and I was never really sold on Griffin. He's, a bloke who's probably at the end of his career. He and Armitage are similar case studies, I think. There's little upside, so do you go for a youngster who could have much more upside and a little bit more risk, but could do anything a bit cheaper? That's where I landed at this point. Unless Griffin or an Armitage or someone like that really lights it up in the pre-season, I dare say I'd go with that sort of a structure. But they just allowed me to provide much more cushion and depth to my side, rather than my D5 and D6 being really poor, and D4, as it turned out, being really poor. Able to get some depth there. M6, 7 and 8, much better, albeit no 6 premiums, but sometimes you got to sacrifice something. And I feel like I bat pretty deep in the forward line as well. I really enjoy the Christensen move at this point in time. And Billings, I've really got on board. You probably saw the player profile the other day, and clearly I pumped him up. So let's just have a look at the sheet. Didn't have too much more to add in terms of that. But yeah, so De Goey made an appearance in the side. At one point it was a bit of your next generation forward line, Heaney, Wingard, De Goey, Petrarca, and it still really is, Billings being a young gun. But since I read that article with De Goey not being as fit as he could, it was a simple no, because he's the sort of guy, in my opinion, that needs to really have a good pre-season. He's a bit of a bad boy. He had some indiscretions last season, plenty of talent, but I needed to see a really good pre-season, and I'm more excited about Billings, and I'm big on Petrarca. I'm still optimistic about De Goey, but hearing that early, he'll be fine for round 1 and that, there's no questions of that. But when you want a guy breaking into the midfield, you need him to be killing the pre-season. Put it like this, Petrarca shaved 10 seconds off his time trial. De Goey comes back and apparently not as fit as he could be. That speaks volumes of where they're at in their career, and maybe De Goey is just not mentally ready to step up into the elite category. So any doubt on that, and he had to go. But So yeah, there you go. That's pretty much the changes for Shorty Superstars at this point in time. I'm pretty settled structure-wise. As you can see, minimal mid prices. Dalhouse is certainly not ruled out. I think I still need to see Petrarca showing reasonable midfield time. He looks destined for it, but how much we'll have to wait and see. And I do enjoy Dalhouse. I really am a big fan of him. But again, we're going to have to see whether he's playing that forward line role or more midfield role. So I think that'll be important. These rookies will probably change a bit. I haven't found a lot of faith in the back line. Someone like Hibbard would have to be a big chance. But I am a big fan of Lloyd. But yeah, as you can see, the only genuine mid-pricer would be Brayshaw and Christensen. And Christensen is really on the lower end of that scale. And providing he's fit, I think there's minimal risk, particularly in a fairly shallow forward line when it comes to premiums. And Brayshaw would have to be the one with the biggest question mark over him in my squad at the moment. I'm not a massive fan of picking mid prices, but if you're going to do it anywhere, probably the back line could be the one. So we'll have to see. If I were to change and get rid of him, I'm not exactly sure what I'd do, but it would probably involve me looking to free up some coins somewhere and upgrade him, and that may come via Nick Nat. You never know. He's been in the leadership group now, but isn't exactly set for round one. They're hoping, but well, they're hoping for JLT too, but it seems a little optimistic. So we'll wait and see. Certainly Nick Nat, it's all about the body for him. But again, the rucks, I had a look at him yesterday after I read that article about his body being so-so, and didn't fill me with confidence. But looking at the rucks, there weren't a lot of other guys that filled me with confidence as well. So we'll just have to wait and see. But that's about it, guys. As I said, I'll probably look to check in at some point next week, just see how the site has changed, and these videos might become more regular when we really get games each weekend, because then you start shuffling that side a fair bit when you get selection news and injury news and things like that. So I think it'd be interesting for my own benefit to look back at how it changed week on week, and I think you guys will enjoy taking a look at how my side transforms through the whole preseason as well. At least hopefully you find it interesting. So get on board and subscribe. Hopefully by the time this video comes out we've hit 1,000, which would be super exciting. I'm getting a bit more involved with the Facebook page. If you're watching this on the Facebook page, head along to the YouTube channel and subscribe there. Likewise, if you're watching it on SuperCoach HQ, of course give them a bit of a like as well. But by all means get along to the YouTube page, because that's really where you'll get the freshest stuff. That's where all my stuff goes first. It's where I put in the most time. So yeah, certainly get along to the YouTube channel. But thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll catch you soon. Cheers.